Today we are taking the RI6.8 post-test number 2, so please follow along with me and then answer the questions after each passage. The first passage is called A Mountain Calling by Amy Leinbach-Marquis, National Parks. 1. John Muir never liked the word hike. Even in the 19th century, American society's connection to nature had grown increasingly shallow, people's time outdoor rigid and hasty. Muir, on the other hand, preferred to saunter. Sauntering meant taking your time, valuing what you see, says Tad Shea, lead interpretive ranger at John Muir National Historic Site in Martinez, California. It meant stopping to enjoy the view of a lake, not running past it. 2. Born in 1838 in the seaside town of Dunbar, Scotland, Muir began his love affair with nature at a young age. 3. In 1849, Muir's father sacrificed the family's wealth in Dunbar for a harsh farming life in America, claiming an 80-acre plot of land in central Wisconsin. It was in this pastoral wilderness, its open skies, frozen meadows, and thousands of migrating birds that Muir found his own religion. 4. Muir was nearly 30 the first time he ventured into California's Sierra Nevada mountains. He was overwhelmed by the landscape, scrambling down steep cliff faces to get a closer look at the waterfalls, whooping and howling at the vistas, jumping tirelessly from flower to flower. We are now in the mountains, and they are in us, kindling enthusiasm, making every nerve quiver, filling every pore and cell of us, he wrote. 5. Muir quickly found work as a sheep herder to keep this precious place near. Guiding his flock through the foothills and entire elevations, he began his lifelong courtship with the Sierra Nevada. He spent much of his 30s alone in the mountains, carrying a tattered blue journal that he filled with sketches, scientific observations, and soulful writing. 6. Although he preferred living on society's fringe, he also longed for human companionship. Muir began publishing his writing in 19th century travel publications that East Coast tours read on trains bound for the West. Soon, famous scientists and writers joined him in the Sierra Nevada. Ralph Waldo Emerson affected Muir deeply. So did President Teddy Roosevelt, whom Muir invited on a camping trip in the Sequoia Forest with one stipulation: no politics allowed. Roosevelt went on to establish Yosemite as a national park. 7. We like to say that Muir got the ball rolling for the national park system, Shea says. 4 more significant designations would follow, thanks to Muir's influence: Grand Canyon, Mount Rainier, Petrified Forest, and Sequoia. America would come to know Muir as the father of our national parks. 8. In his 76 years, Muir published more than 300 articles and 12 books. He moved to president to create the U.S. Forest Service and co-founded the Sierra Club, which helped establish several new national parks years after his death, and now boasts 1.3 million members. 9. It's quite a legacy for a man who was so adamant about taking his time. Adamant has a footnote, means firmly fixed. 10. Our lives are so rapid these days, Shea says. Perhaps the best way to honor Muir is simply to slow down and appreciate nature for its beauty. That brings us to question 1. Which detail from A Mountain Calling disagrees with the claim that Muir preferred to saunter? A. Sauntering meant taking your time, valuing what you see, says Tad Shea, lead interpretive ranger at John Muir National Historic Site in Martinez, California. B. He was scrambling down steep cliff faces to get a closer look at the waterfalls, whooping and howling at the vistas, jumping tirelessly from flower to flower. C. He spent much of his 30s alone in the mountains, carrying a tattered blue journal that he filled with sketches, scientific observations, and soulful writing. D. He moved to president to create the U.S. Forest Service and co-founded the Sierra Club, which helped establish several new national parks years after his death. For the next passage, a student is writing a research report about school lunch. She has gathered information from 2 articles. Read a paragraph from each article and answer the questions that follow. A better lunch. The lunches students eat at school are not healthy enough. Too many kids are eating pizza and candy bars, and such food makes them tired and slow in class. To address this critical issue, the school should immediately install a salad bar in the cafeteria and ban all other foods. Students will insist, but we have a right to choose our foods. But students cannot choose their classes. They learn about history and science because it is good for them and will make them better citizens. So why should they be given a choice about their food? At school, students should consume only what is good for them. This will make them healthier, which will make them more alert students. Important decisions. Some argue that the school should provide healthier lunches. Just as the school chooses a subject its students must study, so it should choose the food its students eat. This is a bad idea because it turns students into robots unable to think for themselves. A school's mission is to educate students. As such, the school might consider teaching about healthy foods, but it shouldn't force students to eat them. Students must learn to make choices for themselves. Eventually, students will become adults, and they will have to make these important decisions. It's better they start now, while they are still young. That brings us to number 2. Foods found in a salad bar are mostly healthy. Which sentence from A Better Lunch best supports this conclusion? A. Too many kids are eating pizza and candy bars, and this makes them tired and slow in class. B. Students will insist, but we have a right to choose our foods. C. At school, students should consume only what is good for them. D. This will make them healthier, which will make them more alert students. Next passage is Biomass Basics. Read the passage, then answer the questions that follow. This is Biomass Basics from the United States Energy Information Association. Biomass from http://www.eia.gov/kids. That is the U.S. Energy Information Administration. 1. Biomass is organic material made from plants and animals, microorganisms. Biomass contains energy stored from the sun. Plants absorb the sun's energy in a process called photosynthesis. The chemical energy in plants gets passed on to animals and people that eat them. 2. Biomass is a renewable energy source because we can always grow more trees and crops, and waste will always exist. Some examples of biomass fuels are wood, crops, manure, and some garbage. 3. When burned, the chemical energy in biomass is released as heat. If you have a fireplace, the wood you burn in it is a biomass fuel. Wood waste or garbage can be burned to produce steam for making electricity or to provide heat to industries and homes, converting biomass to other forms of energy. 4. Burning biomass is not the only way to release its energy. Biomass can be converted to other usable forms of energy, such as methane gas or transportation fuels such as ethanol and biodiesel. 5. Methane gas is the main ingredient of natural gas. Smelly stuff like rotting garbage and agricultural and human waste release methane gas, also called landfill gas or biogas. 6. Crops like corn and sugarcane can be fermented to produce ethanol. Biodiesel, another transportation fuel, can be produced from leftover food products like vegetable oils and animal fats. How much biomass is used for fuel? 7. Biomass fuels provide about 4% of the energy used in the United States in 2011. Of this, about 45% was from wood and wood-derived biomass, 44% from biofuels, mainly ethanol, and about 11% from municipal waste. Researchers are trying to develop ways to burn more biomass and less fossil fuels. Using biomass for energy may cut back on waste and greenhouse gas emissions. Wood and wood waste. Burning wood is nothing new. 8. The most common form of biomass is wood. For thousands of years, people have burned wood for heating and cooking. Wood was the main source of energy in the United States and the rest of the world until the mid-1800s. Wood continues to be a major source of energy in much of the developing world. 9. In the United States, wood and wood waste, bark, sawdust, wood chips, wood scrap, and paper mill residues provide about 2% of the energy we use today, using wood and wood waste. 10. About 80% of the wood and wood waste fuel used in the United States is consumed by industry, electric power producers, and commercial businesses. The rest, mainly wood, is used in homes for heating and cooking. 11. Many manufacturing plants in the wood and paper products industry use wood waste to produce their own steam and electricity. This saves these companies money because they don't have to dispose of their waste products and they don't have to buy as much electricity. Waste to energy. Energy from garbage. 12. Garbage, often called municipal solid waste, MSW, is a source of about 6% of the total biomass energy consumed in the United States. MSW contains biomass or biogenic materials like paper, cardboard, food scraps, grass clippings, leaves, wood, and other leather products, and other non-biomass combustible materials, mainly plastics and other synthetic materials made from petroleum. 13. Americans produce more and more waste each year. In 1960, the average American threw away 2.7 pounds of trash a day. Today, each American throws away about 4.4 pounds of trash every day. Of that, about 1.5 pounds are recycled or composted. What do we do with the rest? One option is to burn it. Burning is sometimes called combustion. About 85% of our household trash is material that will burn, and most of that is biogenic or material that is made from biomass, plant, or animal products. About 62% of MSW by weight is biogenic. Waste-to-energy plants make steam and electricity. 14. Today we burn MSW in special waste-to-energy plants and use its heat energy to make steam to heat buildings or to generate electricity. There are about 76 waste-to-energy plants in the United States that generate electricity or produce steam. In 2011, these plants generated 14 million kilowatt hours of electricity, about the same amount used by 1.3 million U.S. households. The biogenic material in MSW contributed about 51% of the energy of the MSW that was burned in waste-to-energy facilities. Many large landfills also generate electricity with the methane gas that is produced as biomass decomposes in the landfills. Waste-to-energy plants also dispose of waste. 15. Providing electricity is not the major advantage of waste-to-energy plants. It actually costs more to generate electricity at a waste-to-energy plant than it does at a coal, nuclear, or hydropower plant. 16. The major advantage of burning waste is that it reduces the amount of material that we bury in landfills. Waste-to-energy plants burn about 30 million tons of MSW in 2011. Burning MSW reduces the volume of waste by about 87%. Number 3. What evidence does the author provide to support the claim that biomass can help reduce the amount of waste in landfills? A. Biomass can be converted to other usable forms of energy, such as methane gas, or transportation fuel, such as ethanol and biodiesel. B. About 80% of the wood and wood waste fuel used in the United States is consumed by industry, electric power producers, and commercial businesses. C. Burning MSW reduces the volume of waste by about 87%. D. There are about 76 waste-to-energy plants in the United States that generate electricity or produce steam. The next passage is titled John White and Roanoke, and you will need to move on to the next video in order to continue.